Summer rolls along and things are picking up with a huge week of releases, including plenty of cozy games, the return of a fan favourite, some throwback titles, pixel art games and much more. So let's begin with Chain Echoes Ashes of Elrant DLC. An endgame DLC slotted in right before the final encounter, where a new distress signal takes you to a whole new land filled with new areas to explore, new enemies, bosses, music, equipment and items, a fishing minigame and a new playable character to add to your roster, retaining their signature pixel art style, which looks amazing as always. So now that this will be released, I do wonder what is next from this developer. Bang Bang Barrage is a fun looking multiplayer shooter, but the gimmick is that the recoil from every shot is the only way to move your boat. Master this unique movement mechanic as your boat ricochets around the arena, avoiding enemy attacks and gaining powerful upgrades along the way, battling all sorts of enemies including those of the Eldritch variety with a wonderful and effective art style. This video is brought to you by Vending Machine Co., a relaxing simulation title where you're running your very own kawaii vending empire in a laid-back Japanese city. The core gameplay loop revolves around machine placement, stock selection, pricing strategy and expansion as you evaluate neighborhoods, buy items in bulk, including ramen, snacks, gacha toys and more, and experiment with pricing to balance customer satisfaction and profit margins. Machines can be upgraded to add features like QR code payments, increasing profits per machine as you buy even more machines to generate more cash and so on. Interestingly, you are stocking the machines by hand, having to go to your warehouse to pick items, then transporting them to the vending machines in your K-truck, with an adorable art style that simply looks like a delight, so if interested, wishlist the game on Steam. Developer Siaktro is back, who is best known for the throwback 3D platformer series of Toree games, with Toree Saturn being the latest entry. This is a turbocharged 3D platformer built around flow, star collection, and gravity-defying maneuvering. You control the titular character, a sunglasses-wearing bird, who has to make its way through linear, colour-rich levels handcrafted for finesse as you attempt to get the fastest time. You can chain double jumps, wall kicks, and a new ground dash ability that lets you descend quickly while in mid-air, as well as a homing move to collect stars to get a height and momentum boost, being critical to master if you want the best time. Collectible stars act like optional challenges, although I'm sure that there will be a collect all stars kind of speedrun category, with the locomotion and momentum being the most important part of these games. The retro visuals are supposed to be an evolution of the art style of the earlier titles, and where those evoked the Nintendo 64, this perhaps draws upon the Sega Saturn of the late 90s to early 2000s era platformers, while still feeling mechanically modern and will be for fans of the genre. Our first cozy game of the week is Tiny Bookshop, one that lets you set up your very own tiny mobile bookshop, selling secondhand books as well as a variety of other knickknacks, having warm vibes and a narrative focus which makes this management sim of note. You have to stock different kinds of books based on customer preferences, beginning with a handful of books and simple display options, which in turn affects who shows up and if they will purchase anything from you. Match books to customers based on their personality cues as you get to know the various characters in this sleepy seaside town. You can move your shop to various locations, each attracting a slightly different crowd, and can also go out to explore the town itself, learning about its history and uncovering secrets along the way, with a whole stamp collection aspect to the game as well. Of course, the art style is wonderful and looks very pleasant, so for a relaxing, slower paced experience, this looks like a great fit. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. I absolutely love the art style of the Royal Writ, a uniquely difficult lane-based deck builder where you deploy your loyal subjects onto the battlefield and watch as they march towards your enemy and possibly certain doom. Units move forward one space per turn, with your units and enemies having unique traits and abilities. And in deck builder fashion, you have to find synergies to exploit if you want to defeat the enemy. Once a unit reaches the opposing base, it is permanently removed, completely vanishing from your deck and adding to the legend of your kingdom, but this also forces you to constantly change strategies on the fly. Damage is calculated either linearly or via multipliers based on card traits, encouraging combos, but place a unit in the wrong spot and your strategy will fall apart. Between battles, explore a node-based map with random events and shops to tweak and improve your deck, looking like strategic greatness, drawing inspiration from games like Balatro, Monster Train, Slay the Spire, Inscription, Across the Obelisk and much more, but making this their own and could be something special. Other games begin with Thousand Deaths, a trippy 3D platformer in which you play as a TV with legs, embarking on a gravity-twisting journey in some of the most interesting levels that I have come across. There are 4 playable characters to choose from, each with their own unique stories, as you help them make decisions that will change their fate. You're exploring the psychedelic headspaces of these characters with surreal environments and locations such as Nowheresville and Jollywood serving as key locations, with the way the entire game shifts around your movement being rather intriguing. It does remind me of Psychonauts, but with a medal system for quicker completions of levels, but still, how cool is this, making it the hidden gem of the week. Somehow, in 2025, we are getting DLC for a game originally released in 2008 in Castle Crashers Painter Boss Paradise, being more or less a cosmetic DLC drastically improving existing character art with higher detail versions which look pretty good. It also adds a new Paint Junior playable character as well as full Steam Workshop support for custom skin designs, allowing you to create, share and download creations from the community. There are also new main menu and map art in the game, so it should look much fancier, although I'm not sure how locking Steam Workshop behind a paywall would be received. But hey, the Behemoth are one of the most beloved indie developers for good reason, since they make great games, with this being the perfect time to revisit this classic. Another adorable looking title this week is Catto Post Office, a cute exploration adventure game where you play as a post cat having to deliver mail to the various residents of the town, collect one letter at a time from the sorting box and navigate the winding streets to locate the correct recipient using conversations and location clues to figure out where to go. However, do note that this is a short experience, estimated to be around 1 hour, so whether or not it's worth the $4 or $5 will be up to you. Definitely oozing charm to the extent of having a dedicated meow button. The latest bottom-of-screen idle game is Fischer's Fishing Journey, one that turns your desktop into a tranquil place as Fischer sits at the corner of your screen attempting to catch fish while you work or focus on other tasks. No input is needed from you, but you can occasionally check in to see what was caught or to purchase upgrades, such as for your fishing rod. Your catch depends on location, time, weather and bait, with rare boss-type fish encounters as well. You do have your own fish tank where you can put caught fish in, but can also decorate the tanks and purchase upgrades for it, looking so pleasant and chill. There is a catch-em-all aspect as you attempt to fill out your Fishpedia, but generally, it is a low-stress, idle kind of title that looks rather pleasant. This next title does kind of look like a generic roguelite, but it got picked up by Ghost Ship Publishing, from the people that made Deep Rock Galactic, so they must have seen something interesting in GUNTOUCHABLES, a relentless 1-to-4 player action roguelite where every second counts and survival hinges on cooperation, extraction, and chaos. You play as a ragtag group of doomsday preppers navigating ruined urban zones in search of upgrades, supply crates loaded with cash and perks, having to weigh risk with reward as the enemy hordes get stronger every second that passes. Combat is bullet hell inspired, but you have limited ammo, being able to use a number of perks and abilities to aid in combat. There's also a voting mechanism for players to choose enemy mutations, but the developers are quite upfront with the openness of development, which is free to evolve depending on community feedback, so I'm curious to see how this will turn out. King's Blade brings back the old school beat-em-up genre, drawing upon classics like Golden Axe and Streets of Rage, with a world inspired by Conan the Barbarian, having a sweet art style as well and could be cool. Choose from one of 6 unique fighters and battle your way across 12 brutally designed levels with focus on combo execution, crowd control and perfect timing. Each fighter is unique with specific weapons, spells and combos, of course being best with friends as you work together to defeat monsters, the undead and a host of other nasties. As far as I can tell, this is handcrafted and linear, so no roguelite randomization here, so if you don't want a roguelite, show your support by picking this up. Liminal Exit is a first-person anomaly finding exploration game built around spatial repetition, elevator logic, and environmental recognition. You wake up in an eerily familiar facility with no instructions and only one consistent tool, the elevator. Each floor represents a new liminal zone in the form of identical offices, damp stairwells, maze-like locker rooms, the pools, and more, where the objective is to find the correct exit, but each time you choose the wrong one, the building resets and the floor reconfigures slightly, looping you back to a subtle variation of the same space. Visual anomalies serves as clues, pointing towards escape, and while there is no combat, there are still some creepy things that build upon the sense of unease, looking like an interesting mix of the Exit 8 and liminal spaces like the back rooms and looks intriguing. From notable video game asset creator Kenny NL comes MakeRoom, an interactive toy for lack of a better term, although it seems to have just a little bit more structure as compared to other titles in this space. Design tiny homes, camper rigs or tranquil gardens using over 1,000 customizable objects, changing up the floors, lights, furniture and even adding pets to make this room your own. There are gentle guided requests, which you can take on from MakeRoom Island, where completing these unlocks new items, ambience settings or special effects for use in the future. Objects can be freely rotated, resized and recolored, with a custom furniture building tool as well to design and make your own creations, which can then be shared via Steam Workshop. Photo mode will be critical as well, since you can apply visual filters and rotate and position your diorama just right, looking ultra cozy and chill. Another cozy game worth a mention is Out and About, where you're exploring a storm-ravaged seaside town with a daily loop revolving around nature, nourishment and neighbourhood rebuilding. You begin in Portobello Village with little but a basket, a book and curiosity, exploring and foraging over 100 real-world plants and fungi, with each species requiring careful identification at sorting tables before being turned into or traded for something meaningful. Cook more than 150 authentic recipes or brew herbal remedies to heal and help the townsfolk, delivering meals that move the social meter forward and unlock friendship tiers to progress their individual stories. You will be able to get a bunch of upgrades for your tools, allowing you to speed up your foraging runs in the wilderness as well as the processing of said ingredients, with this gameplay loop beautifully woven into the time of day and weather cycles as well, since those affect what will be available to you and will certainly be of interest to cozy game fans. Switching gears quite abruptly is Pager, a 1-bit Kafka-esque psychological horror game set in a surreal black and white 90s office building where your only directive is obeying your pager instructions to survive and climb the corporate ladder. Each floor is a looping spatial puzzle of corridors, elevators and pager tasks as you attempt to puzzle out what the pager actually wants, but the surreal physical space you are in might just turn a simple task into something much more complex. Again, no combat here, but there are some unsettling imagery of creepy things that crawl on ceilings and such, but my god, what an art style that this game has, and was the other game I considered for Hidden Gem of the Week. Given the proliferation of modern roguelites, the traditional turn-based, grid-based roguelike is relatively underrepresented these days, so if you prefer the classic style of game, paper animal adventure might be of interest. This looks adorable and is set in charming pixel art dungeons as you select from a variety of animal characters and delve deeper into said dungeons. This of course channels Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and a Paper Mario inspired art style as you battle enemies, solve puzzles and search for campfires. The playable animals are all unique and do change the game, with, charmingly, stickers as a form of passive abilities that add to your build for the run, with there even being extra powerful holographic ones that really change the game, looking awesome but might actually be quite the challenge. Sands of Hope drops you into the sun-blasted, small, handcrafted open-world desert of Cydonia, where your task is to use your ancestral powers to manipulate magnetic cubes, constructing structures to find energy cores to restore water flow to the world. I love the look of this game, with the puzzle and construction aspect being fascinating as well, since it does appear like you're really free to build whatever you want, Tears of the Kingdom style. Repair erosion, reroute dried channels, or bridge across cliffs in order to explore as you uncover secrets and find hidden collectibles along the way. You also have a cute dog companion by your side, exploring a variety of biomes while stopping to chat with NPCs, and sure is up there among the prettiest releases of the week. Sizzle and Stack is a fast-paced, card-driven cooking game where you draw ingredient and tool cards at the start of each in-game day, stacking them in the correct sequence to prepare dishes for incoming customer orders. Each stack becomes a recipe, making hard-boiled eggs or an omelette for example, both using eggs but with different cooking tools. Timing matters as customers grow impatient and each order comes with its own countdown, pushing you to process orders quickly while avoiding mistakes. Coins earned from satisfied customers lets you purchase new card packs and upgrades, unlocking new ingredients, better tools, and new combos that turn routine meals into prestige dishes. As difficulty scales, new challenges appear, like picky customers, ingredient scarcity, or modifiers that limit tool usage, but you will be able to hire staff to help as well, looking like Stacklands, but cooking ensure looks neat. Static Dread the Lighthouse self-describes as Lovecraft meets Papers, Please, plunging you into a surreal horror sim where you are the lone keeper of a decaying lighthouse, having to guide ships safely into harbour using your radio, but of course there are reports of strange creatures and sightings and you have to preserve your sanity while still going about your job. Each day begins with tuning frequencies to communicate with incoming ships, but you might get static or misleading murmurs. As night unfolds, something impossible stalks the shadows just beyond your door, with each failure to broadcast or to guide the ship inviting stronger manifestations, warping the very rooms that you are in. Encounter a variety of characters that come to your door, inviting them in or not, depending on the vibes they give off, looking creepy as well and masterfully done, and might just be the next big horror hit. Strange Jigsaws is of note since it comes to us from the developer of the excellent free 20 Small Mazes, so go play that if you have not, taking a similar concept but applying it to jigsaws, and in the developer's own words, is a game about strange jigsaws where you solve strange jigsaws, with about 50 of them and sure looks cleverly made. This game might not look like much, but Tall Trails sure looks like fun, being an exploration-focused 3D platformer where you play as Elp, a little golem on a quest to find his purpose, carrying a boot on his back, which just so happens to be able to store anything in the world. These range from frogs to mushrooms to whirligigs and more, which, when placed in your boot, each have unique properties, giving you the ability to glide, hover, swing, and more. Explore caverns, floating islands, and tilted megastructures as you take on missions and help other characters, all while having a whimsical vibe in part due to the face of the main character. There is no combat, instead encouraging you to explore and find your way around the world, and as I've said before, exploration and discovery is the most important part of games to me, which makes this of interest. TEXNOPLAZM throws you headfirst into ultra-fluid first-person combat that fuses boxing, melee weapons and gunplay, combined known as Gun Fu, as you fight your way through a gothic metropolis, use your enemies' weapons against them, and pull off slick acrobatic movements with a throwback art style that reminds me of games from the early 2000s. Everything is fair game here, from guns to fists to flamethrowers and crowbars, looking like a sleek dance of death and looks awesome. The Lilliput Workshop is a charming sandbox logic puzzle game where you assemble miniature train tracks and block carrying carriages to move cargo from one point to the next. You begin each puzzle by placing tracks using curves, switches, splitters and more, while also configuring block machines that deposit or toggle shapes onto the moving train. Each block has a target zone, and collisions or misalignment can bounce cargo into unintended lanes, so planning the timing and orientation of switches becomes key to your success. It does encourage trial and error, since you place tracks, test them and adjust until the puzzle is solved, looking wholesome with the wooden kid's toy kind of look and art style, with a built-in level editor as well that lets you design and share your own creations. Valiant Tactics is a minimalist turn-based tactics roguelite with the key distinction of stripping out hit chance RNG, so every strike and spell has deterministic accuracy, meaning that you will know exactly what your attacks will do, which makes terrain, positioning, elevation and move range the critical variables in combat. Lead a team of heroes selecting from 8 unique characters, facing off against 9 enemy factions and 10 different boss fights. This is a classic hex grid tactics combat system where you do need to consider environmental hazards, with the almost board game-like presentation being simple but effective. Between battles, recruit new heroes in the tavern, and make critical decisions in random events, roguelite style, also having 10 difficulty levels, which I assume are the equivalent to Ascension difficulty levels and might be interesting. Grand strategy titles are not really my thing, but if they are yours, Warnament should be of interest, a sandbox strategy title where the possibilities seem endless. Assume command of a nation and orchestrate its rise through politics, war and empire building. Each turn initiates classic 4X elements where you win or lose wars, install compliant vessels, issue economic sanctions, outbid rivals in global trade, or manipulate diplomatic alliances under one of 6 political regimes. Military might ranges from infantry to nuclear weapons, naval dominance with cruisers and carriers, as well as defensive infrastructure for your territory as you navigate the complexities of global geopolitics. Progress up the tech tree to unlock new buildings, institutions or military tiers that further your domination or cultural supremacy, with a range of scenarios and historical periods to choose from, looking deeply strategic, so if you are into these, it could potentially eat up hours of your life. Developer Odin Cat is known for their turn-based RPGs and atypical life sim titles, with the one common thread being awesome pixel art, and are doing quite the clever thing in releasing Wish Upon a Cat, where you have to chase a wayward dimension-jumping cat across the various game worlds in Odin Cat's universe. Explore bite-sized tributes to their other games, from Bear's Restaurant to Max Monster, each having puzzles, choice-driven environmental interactions, and visual callbacks. This does seem to be more adventure game-like in nature and is a free 1 hour plus experience, but there is some mention of alternate endings to discover and might be more than meets the eye. An awesome-looking roguelite JRPG is Yokai Tales, one which is steeped in Japanese folklore as you play as 3 Tanuki brothers on a quest to stop the Void, a mysterious force which is corrupting the land and turning once friendly yokai into hostile enemies. Honestly, this game is all art style, which got my attention, looking to have a bit of that Cuphead style rubber hose animation but applied to a different culture which I have not seen before. In accordance with legend, the Tanuki or the raccoon dog are able to shapeshift, which naturally means that you can select from a variety of playable creatures, finding the right 3 creature party combination to take out your enemies. There's a node-based map as well as a skill tree, but again, coming back to the art, how great does this game look? This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. Yet another bottom of screen idle game is Whimside, this time with a creature collecting twist where you're attracting and capturing creatures known as Wimlings, but for the most part, it quietly runs at the bottom of your screen. There will, of course, be rare Wimlings and you will be able to breed them to unlock new ones as well. You can get new backgrounds and decorations and even go to new biomes with new Wimlings to capture, each exponentially increasing the number of possible combinations and new Wimlings to discover. Another huge plus point in my book is that it has awesome pixel art, and as a Pokemon fan, of course this speaks to me. Empire game Pixel Hero draws inspiration from the Heroes of Might and Magic series, as well as more recent variants like Heroes Hour, combining a turn-based overworld map exploration portion, castle building and unit recruitment from dwellings, as well as auto-battler real-time combat, also being in pixel art but does base its factions on real-life human civilizations instead of fantasy creatures. Each hero comes with their own traits and skill tree, affecting how their army performs and what upgrades you unlock, choosing units and placing them in formation before combat begins. Battles resolve automatically, but positioning matters, where the front line units absorb damage, while range and support units deal damage or apply effects from behind, but you're also able to time the use of special abilities to turn the tide of battle. There's also an artifact equipment system, as well as the overworld exploration and resource capturing that we have come to know and love, looking like it's for HOMM fans, so hopefully the English translation is good enough for it to be playable. This next title comes to us from the developer of the cozy Sticky Business, having a similar kind of art style, but Ritual of Raven is a totally different kind of game. It is a story-based farming sim, with the twist being that you don't do the farming yourself, instead playing as a witch's apprentice who uses constructs to grow magical herbs instead. You place Arcana Automata, constructs like Sprout Matrices or Healing Frames, onto ritual tiles, managing seasonal Arcana nodes and chain rituals to grow high quality plants, also having to manage a deck of cards, which looks intriguing. There will be a cast of quirky characters, plenty of decoration and customization options, a library to fill up with different plants, as well as the involvement of moon magic in your endeavors, looking like a clever twist on the genre and should be awesome. A few quick matches is an insanely fast-paced platform fighter, bringing back the stickman fighters of the flash game era into a new age, distilling the popular subgenre into raw combo mechanics and instantly gratifying action instead of focusing on characters or story. Players control minimalist, unique stick figures and get to work attacking their enemies, juggling them, dashing out of aerial combos, and to punish opponent missteps. I'm not the biggest platform fighter guy, but there's something to this game, or perhaps it is those nostalgia glasses speaking, looking minimalist but so fun and should be great with friends. I was absolutely enthralled with Artist Impact the moment I came to know of it, looking on one hand like a calm single player pixel art RPG as you live your life in your home and visit towns and talk to NPCs. However, that is combined with an interesting post-apocalyptic setting, having turn-based RPG combat against gigantic bosses, as well as some of the best looking pixel art animations that I have ever seen. Then, once combat is over, switch back to a live sim kind of experience where you take on side missions and get into hilarious situations, perhaps buy some food from a street vendor or to go home and cook and lie on your bed. I love the look of this, with some amazingly vibrant colours used as well, contrasted with the setting, so I'm curious about the narrative and where it is heading to. Also, fun fact, this is from a Malaysian developer, which is awesome to see and could really be something special. Watch this video for more pixel art games.